Breaking news, two rapidly developing stories tonight in the Inland Empire. The holy fire growing in size and threatening homes, and a shooting on the 210 freeway in San Bernardino.
More on that fire in just a moment, but first, CBS 2's Rachel Kim is live at the scene of that shooting tonight. Rachel?
Yeah, Jeff and Pat, we are on an overpass, and below us is the 210 freeway. The shooting happened on the eastbound side near the H Street exit. You can see below us investigators still on scene, and they are about to tow away the white shot-up car. Here's what we know so far. The CHP says this is being investigated as a car-to-car shooting. They say around 6:30 tonight, they received a lot of calls from witnesses who described seeing two cars involved in a shooting on this freeway. Now, when the CHP got here, they found a man with several gunshot wounds lying next to the car, a white Dodge Challenger, on the right shoulder of the 210 and Muskibiabi Drive. They say the 29-year-old male victim was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The CHP still searching for a suspect right now, but they say anonymous callers have told them to be on the lookout for a white sedan, possibly a BMW. They say that's where the shots came from. Now, as the CHP works to identify and locate the suspect, they will, of course, also be trying to figure out a motive. Reporting live tonight in San Bernardino, Rachel Kim, CBS 2 News.
And more breaking news. The holy fire is raging through Orange and Riverside counties tonight. It has already burned more than 6,000 acres, and the man accused of starting that fire is behind bars. Now, for many, the danger is growing. The fire is still threatening homes in Corona and Lake Elsinore.
Several communities are under mandatory evacuation orders. And
CBS 2's Stacey Butler is live in Corona, where people are closely watching the flames. Stacey.
Yeah, Jeff and Pat, from our vantage point here at a community park in Sycamore Canyon, you can count 1, 2, and 3 fires. That one really starting to kick up right now behind me. You can see, because there's not heavy wind, that for now at least these flames are staying where firefighters want them, at the top of the canyon. But just hours ago, they were making a run towards hundreds of homes. It's the third night of the holy fire, and it's still burning out of control toward hundreds of homes. Watching the fire closely, tonight Josh Anderson brought a water tanker to protect his friend's house in McVickers Canyon.
We got 4,000 gallons of water here, and we got sprinklers running on the backside. Everything's irrigated, everything's wet.
So I think we're well prepared. We have our water trucks, our 2 water buffaloes, and we're ready to go. So, I mean, what else are you going to do?
They may be the only ones who refuse to follow the mandatory evacuation order in McVicker Canyon tonight. Most homeowners saw the flames earlier today and got out. The streets and the homes appear to be empty.
The people that believe in a mandatory evacuation, they left, and I believe that I should stay here and protect my property.
So what are you doing?
As you can see, it's a ghost town. So we have our friends here, we have our neighbors here. We're going to protect our little piece of the world.
Every road to the areas like Painted Hills and Rice Canyon under a mandatory evacuation order are closed. This family had to leave their car at the bottom of the canyon and walk back up. Determined to protect structures overnight, firefighters parked their engines on canyon streets and watched as flames slowly burned on the canyon behind homes. And back out here live, you're looking at more flames. They appear to just be beginning to crest this ridge here in Sycamore Canyon. This is an erratic fire, and that is a great example behind me of why there are so many mandatory evacuation orders. A lot of people came up to us and said, should we stay, should we go? A lot of people not adhering to that mandatory evacuation order, and those flames kicking up once again behind me are a great example of why sheriffs and firefighters are taking this so seriously. Back to you guys.
Well, the man accused of setting the fire is behind bars tonight, and many of his neighbors in Holy Jim Canyon told our Tina Patel they're not surprised.
I'm caught on fire. I'm burned. Okay?
Just hours after the holy fire started Monday, a photographer tried to talk to Forrest Clark about what was happening near his cabin.
Do you know how this fire started?
I have no idea. I was asleep.
But investigators now believe Clark is responsible for setting the fire that has burned more than 6,000 acres and many of his neighbors' homes. Holy Jim Volunteer Fire Chief Mike Milligan was not surprised when he heard Clark had been arrested.
For years, the Forest Service and the sheriff have dealt with Forrest and his problems.
According to court records, the 51-year-old had never been charged with any serious crimes. But Milligan says Clark often argued with neighbors. And he says he contacted law enforcement after Clark made threatening remarks just a couple weeks ago.
Sent him an email, sent him the text that he had sent me. The last line in his text was, it's all going to burn just like you planned. I'm not sure what he talked about, what he meant when he said planned.
Milligan says seeing the damage from this fire now is devastating.
They just burned 13 houses, ruined the place that I've been coming to for 50 years, and they're threatening everybody on the other side of the mountain.
He can only hope Clark is held responsible.
Thank God they arrested him. Finally, he's gone.
We reached out to Clark's family in Irvine, but they did not want to comment on the arrest. Clark is facing several counts of felony arson as well as threat to terrorize. If convicted, he could face a life sentence. In Santa Ana, Tina Patel, CBS 2 News.
Poor air quality from the fire has also forced the closure of the popular Glen Ivy Hot Springs in Corona. It's normally a busy time there in the summer months. The spa has been closed the last 2 days and will be shut down tomorrow as well.
Well, the smoky skies did not stop the Lake Elsinore Storm from taking on the field tonight against Visalia Rawhide. The game was played as scheduled, but without the usual large group of fans. Both teams' mascots, with smoky skies behind them, thank the fire crews for all of their efforts. Some of the proceeds from tonight's game will be donated to fire relief funds. Well, another day of very hot temperatures in that fire zone.
That's for sure. And CBS 2's Garth Kemp is tracking those conditions there tonight. Garth?
Yeah, we came down a little bit today. Not a lot, but enough in some spots. Some spots about a half a dozen degrees. We came down some a little bit more than that. Right now, 77 degrees. Winds are calm. Dew points up there, as is the humidity. So we're starting to feel a little stickiness in the atmosphere. Still mid-80s out for San Bernardino, 81 up in Lancaster, 67 Oxnard. You know, Jeff and Pat, we're picking up some, around Point Conception, just the overcast came rolling in at around, 8-ish or so, and Oxnard dropped pretty quickly, a good 10 degrees. So that's helped there. It's starting to round itself around down to the south. How far will it go? When's the heat end? Do we have more heat on the way, more humidity, more thunderstorms? We'll show you all that coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you, too.
Well, tonight, police are investigating a deadly shooting in Boyle Heights. We are told the victim was an employee from Homeboy Industries. Right now, police have no information on any suspects. Homeboy Industries tells us they are heartbroken about the man's death. Nearly 24 people are under arrest in connection with a major drug trafficking operation in LA County. According to the FBI, they all worked on behalf of the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, one of the biggest in the world. Agents seized 850 pounds of meth, nearly a ton of cocaine, 93 pounds of heroin, and almost 50 pounds of marijuana. In all, 59 people were charged in the indictment.
Now to stunning new revelations tonight about that mysterious compound in northern New Mexico. Prosecutors say nearly a dozen starving children found there were being groomed for terrorism. The CBS 2's Chris Holmstrom is live in the newsroom right now with more details. Chris?
Jeff, tonight 5 adults are facing child abuse charges, and according to court documents today, it shows that one of them is under investigation for training children to commit school shootings. Siraj Wahaj appeared in court Wednesday to answer a slew of criminal charges. Among the allegations, prosecutors say he'd been training children to carry out school shootings. Wahaj was arrested last week at this squalid compound in New Mexico. He was taken into custody along with another man and 3 women. Sheriff's deputies also rescued 11 children from the location and placed them in foster care.
The breaking point for us was last Thursday when a message that we reasonably believe came from an occupant of the compound or somebody with great knowledge of the compound sent a message saying basically that we are starving and the children are starving.
One of the foster parents alerted investigators that Wahaj had trained the child in the use of an assault rifle in preparation for future school shootings. Prosecutors revealed that information in court papers, also asking a judge to deny bail in the case. Wahaj is also wanted in Georgia in connection with the disappearance of his disabled son. The 3-year-old was last seen in December. On Monday, investigators found human remains at the New Mexico compound, but they've yet to determine if the remains are those of the missing boy. And CBS News has learned that Wahaj is the son of a Brooklyn imam who was a possible co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. He was never charged. Wahaj is still in a New Mexico jail. He is expected to have a bond hearing next week. In the newsroom, Chris Holmstrom, CBS 2 News.
Well, after several delays, the taped confession of Florida school shooter Nicholas Cruz has been released.
As long as you...
Yes, I love you too, bro.
Cruz broke down sobbing during the marathon interrogation. At one point, he motioned like he was putting a gun to his head and pulling the trigger, saying, quote, "Just kill me." While the guard was out of the room, Cruz started slugging himself in the face over and over again. He admitted to killing 17 and injuring 17 more in the Valentine's Day shooting at the Stoneman Douglas High School. He told the interrogator that he heard a voice or a demon telling him to burn, kill, and destroy.
Trump administration is now taking steps to open up California to fracking for oil and natural gas. Bureau of Land Management is now considering leases that could allow fracking on nearly 2 million acres of California land. Fracking involves injecting water deep into the ground to break apart rock and then release the oil inside. Some worry that that could cause earthquakes.
Exploring ways to produce more oil in California is a good thing in and of itself, because we only produce about 30% of the oil that we use here in California.
We need our groundwater for the highest possible uses, and fracking is not a very high use in the scheme of things. The issue is with the underground injection of the waste fluids, the contamination.
And on that issue of whether fracking has increased the number of earthquakes in California, well, experts at UCLA and the U.S. Geological Survey say that they have found no indication of that.
Well, still ahead right here. Kicked and spit on. A Sikh man attacked while out walking. Wait until you hear who was arrested for the crime.
This is unbelievable crap.
A settlement reached in the Aliso Canyon gas leak and why residents say it's nowhere near enough.
And hoping for a bigger audience, major changes planned for the Oscars. But not everyone in Hollywood is happy about it. We'll show you why.
Hey everybody, welcome to a nice evening. It's summertime after all. Things are going to heat up again tomorrow. We'll show you the forecast on the way.
And a bear cub burned in the car fire. The experimental treatment being used to nurse her back to health.